Good morning. Welcome to the Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com. Dave Lockran, and along with I don't know if he's a first timer, but definitely a first timer since the Fan Vice Awesemo merger buyout. Call it what it really is. Josh Engelman, glad to have you here, brother. Filling in for Dan Strafford today.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm tagging into the late stuff too. You're getting my thumbprint on everything now. I
Yeah, I
haven't
know.
done this since before it was officially called the early bird, and it was something else that we called it, and it was baseball season.
What was it called?
I don't remember.
First look.
I truly have no idea.
I I don't remember either. I wish I did. But I remember it was still like that for a while when we first came over. But anyway, we've got a 7-game basketball slate for Monday. Sunday went pretty poor for me, I must say. I had a decent amount of Jeremy Lin. I had a decent amount of Zach LaVine, who was just god awful.
Yes, he
Uh,
was.
Trey Young didn't have a whole lot of him, but he got ejected after 2 techs. It was one of those days where I wish I had just kind of sat on the sidelines.
Oh, I took a beating on the early slate, and I took a little bit of a beating on the late slate as well. Nothing
Yeah.
really went the way that I needed to. It was bad. Not happy about it.
No, last week was
Had a really
great.
good Saturday.
What's up?
Had a really good Saturday. Gave it all back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did the same thing. Last week was phenomenal
Yep.
and went downhill pretty quick, but that happens. You know, you just keep grinding, you keep making it happen until you get that one really solid day. All right, let's jump into it, man. We've got 7 games to talk about here.
Let's hit it.
We'll go position by position because if you and I go game by game, this will go at least 7 hours, possibly more. So
When you do that, how do we handle the two sites, or do you guys just mostly focus on DK?
yeah, we'll specifically we'll focus mostly on DraftKings. You know, if
Okay.
anything's glaring on FanDuel, I'll jump over there once in a while, but just to make it a little bit easier. And this is just a first look, more of a foundational thing. So sometimes it's easier to focus on DraftKings, and we can mix some FanDuel in, but just to get everyone really familiarized with the slate, easiest way to do it. I will throw this out there before we get started. We got Brooklyn hosting Dallas, 224 total. Brooklyn by 5. Miami and Atlanta. We don't have a line on this one yet. We should soon.
I made up 11.
What's that?
I made up the line -11 and 226.
All right. All right. So that's what you're okay. And I think that sounds pretty reasonable.
Be in the ballpark.
Sounds pretty reasonable, yeah. Atlanta's on the second of a back-to-back. This is their 3rd game in 4 days, and one of them went to quad overtime, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
San Antonio at home against Denver. Denver 1-point road favorites, 228 total. Utah at home against New Orleans. We've got Utah 9.5-point favorites, 230.5 total. Phoenix at home hosting Milwaukee. No line on that yet. I mean, Milwaukee might be a double-digit road favorite here.
I went +8, but it could get bigger than that.
Yeah, 8 sounds reasonable. Milwaukee had lost 18 of their last 19 games and then beat a desperate Lakers team. Pathetic.
Yeah.
Pathetic. The Lakers, not the Suns.
No.
And that's saying something.
Lakers are rough.
Sacramento Kings, 11.5-point favorites at home against the Knicks. Also playing their second of a back-to-back, got smoked by the Clippers. Clippers on a back-to-back too. Well, it's a home game, except they're the designated road team against the Lakers at the Staples Center. Lakers 4-point favorites. That makes no sense. I'm sorry. Seriously, 237.5 total. Great fantasy game. But with how bad the Lakers have played, the Clippers are not a bad basketball team. The Lakers, I don't even see why the Lakers should be favored here. They certainly shouldn't be getting home court advantage, Josh.
Yeah, that implies that they think that the Lakers are like 7 points better than them. Well, I guess this is a neutral court, so that's the same.
So 4 points
Yeah,
better.
no, so it's right. It's 4 points. Yeah,
but
I don't have a huge issue with it.
I do. They're bad. They suck, man. Like, here's my thing. This is basically Vegas just once assuming that, and we see this happen sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're like, even though the Clippers are, 6 games up on the Lakers in the win column, they're still a worse team and 4-point dogs. I don't buy it, man. but we can get into it. It's a good fantasy game nonetheless, and that's really all that matters.
That's true.
Fr From an injury standpoint, Anthony Davis questionable with a quote unquote illness. Nothing really big outside of that. TJ Warren, I believe, is still going to be out here. DeAndre Jordan questionable. Wouldn't be surprised if they continue to sit him. And then you just got random questionables like Mamba Mute, Lance Stevenson, Wilson Chandler, Jamal Crawford, Pau Gasol signed with Milwaukee. Dragic. Oh, here's a few that are important actually.
This Heat team. Ugh.
What's up? Yeah,
This
yeah,
Heat
yeah.
team.
Dragic, Whiteside are both questionable, and then John Collins didn't travel on Sunday, but is questionable against the Miami Heat. So we'll see where that one goes. They were that game was in Chicago, right? And yeah, because because Atlanta, the quad overtime game was in Atlanta. All right. Well, we'll see what happens there because he didn't travel. Maybe he travels to Miami. It's definitely nicer than Chicago, so maybe that'll get him interested. And then Taurean Prince is doubtful, the birth of his child. So there are injuries, Josh. Anything to note or to add before we get started here?
I think you hit it. Let's do it.
All right, let's get to the point guard position.
Do it.
At the top of the position, you've got nothing intense. Like Trae Young is your highest priced player ahead of Luka Doncic on DraftKings. We can mix in multi-position eligibility here. Donovan Mitchell, 8,300. D'Angelo Russell at home against Dallas, 8K. But now that you've got Dinwiddie back, we've seen his minutes decline. That's concerning. It was a blowout, but still. And then Drew Holiday against Utah. I guess we'll give him 35 minutes again here. And Anthony Davis, who knows if he's going to play or not. So what do we have at the top of point guard?
Trae Young at a spot that I have absolutely no interest in. I can't pay $9,100 for him on DraftKings.
93, as a matter of fact.
Doncic, 93. I looked down at Luka. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. It's worse.
Yeah, give me Doncic over Trae all day here against Brooklyn.
Yeah, in real life, in fantasy, it's this is another time where Trae Young is slightly ahead of Luka, and he shouldn't be.
Yep, I agree. I will say this much: the only thing that worries me a little bit about Doncic is the fact that the Brooklyn Nets do a really good job of limiting 3-point attempts.
Yeah,
that is the case. They limit efficiency from beyond the arc, but Doncic gets it done in so many different ways. He has legit triple-double upside here. So 9,100 on Doncic to me seems very, very reasonable. 98 on FanDuel at shooting guard, also reasonable. I like Doncic quite a bit on this slate.
I don't disagree. I might prefer Donovan Mitchell, honestly, because of that matchup and because of the extra little bit of savings. It's pretty close for me. I assume that I can get Donovan Mitchell at a much lower ownership number, although Luka never really gets crazy owned.
He really doesn't. People, I guess, don't love paying $9K for him, but it's a fair price point. I mean, he's 500 less than Doncic on FanDuel, and on DraftKings he's $700 or $800 less. I like Doncic more. I could see where you're going to Mitchell against New Orleans here. I wouldn't argue that. But I really don't have much interest in D'Angelo Russell.
Nope.
It's hard to get there. What are your thoughts on Devin Booker? The Bucks, unlike Brooklyn, really solid defense, but the three-pointer is something that they have given up a lot. They are, right around the bottom third of the league in three-point efficiency allowed. Booker just hasn't been really breaking out lately, but we know he's capable of doing it. He's still the highest usage player on this team. Where do you stand on Booker?
I like him more than I'm comfortable with right now. He hasn't been spectacular lately. Lots of just okay games. Nothing.
7,800 is pretty cheap, though.
I know. So he's grading out, I'd say basically like a tier behind Mitchell and Doncic for me. I like him a lot more than Russell. I like him more than Holiday and Fox as we're moving along. I clearly like him more than Trae Young. But he would be third of anybody we've talked about so far.
Right. I don't have an issue with De'Aaron Fox. He's kind of just like an okay play each night, though, is what I've been coming across, right? Like from a usage standpoint, he's kind of middle of the road assist rate, sits around 30%. Everything he does is good, but nothing's really spectacular. And, if I'm getting Booker at pretty much the same cost with the same eligibility, I'm happily going to take Mitchell here. Or sorry, Booker. I don't hate Darren Fox. I actually do like him over Drew Holiday. Utah defensively has looked really strong lately. What about Lou Williams?
What did he end up doing tonight? I'm not used to not knowing this stuff.
Lou Williams played 22 minutes. Obviously, bench players like him, your six man, they will suffer in blowouts. So he played only 22 minutes. He had 32 fantasy points, though, so another strong per minute game. But only 22 minutes is actually a pretty positive thing heading into the second of a back to back.
Yeah, I have him almost equal with Devin Booker. Clearly, Lou Will has a much better matchup than Booker does.
Yeah, no question.
So I would guess that Lou Will probably gets more ownership than Booker. So I have them equal. We're obviously spitballing here the night before. But if Booker were significantly less owned because of matchup, I think that I would lean to Booker over Lou Will.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still on Booker over Lou Williams, but Lou Williams, to me, depending on if ownership is coming in pretty low, I will like him. And one of the simple reasons for that is that, it's a 237.5 total game. Like this game is going to have to score a lot of points. I expect it to be very competitive. Neither team should roll over in a spot like this. So, I definitely like that. I think the mid range actually offers up quite a bit at this position. We've talked about most of them. And then you have Eric Bledsoe off the injury report, facing his former team after being a late scratch last time out. He's had two monster games in a row, Josh. $6,500 on DraftKings is pretty solid. 74 on FanDuel against one of the worst defensive backcourts in the league. What do you make of Eric Bledsoe here?
He might be my favorite point guard today. Well,
I like him a lot.
When I say today, I guess most people will hear this.
Everyone knows what you're talking about, by the way. Yeah, you can. Everyone knows. Dan and I have been doing this podcast for like 5-6 years now, the same format. And we would just basically lie and say today, or, hey, this morning, this and that, like making it seem like we're recording at 5 a.m. And we were always recording the night before and nobody cared.
Sure.
Nobody cared.
Sure.
So no big deal. As long as we're getting
today,
information.
I really like Eric Bledsoe.
There you go.
I might be a little high on him. I might need to dial him back a little bit. But he looks fantastic. Like he's been playing so well. Rates are up across the board compared to where he was a couple weeks ago. So no problem getting to him.
Neither do I.
It's the best matchup on the slate, right?
Yeah, it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Giannis plays, another 32 minutes instead of 36 minutes, which certainly doesn't hurt Bledsoe. We'll see what happens there, and we'll get to small forward in just a minute. Any value here at the position that you like?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if he continues to play, 26, 28, 30 minutes, I think he looks pretty solid at 3,900. And then, I don't know, Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel Mudiay, Derek White, those are guys that you can functionally get into, GPP territories.
I think I have to get back to some Rondo, though. If he's going to keep starting, I know he only played 26 minutes last game, but it's going to be hard for me not to have any Rajon Rondo, just given the overall upside and per minute production you see from him. If he even shoots like 4 for 10, he's fine. Last game was just dreadful, but the team as a whole was dreadful. At this point, I don't know. You almost have to wonder, do we have to worry about this team from a fantasy standpoint because it's so dysfunctional? But Rondo's still pretty affordable. So is Derek White, coming off a pretty strong game. There are a few options here. Nobody that stands out as a phenomenal play, but I think, a few guys that at their price tags can still pay them off with relative ease.
Yeah, I will happily take Rondo here. He's just still underpriced. If we get word that he's starting, doesn't change anything for me. Is this game on TV? I know all the narrative people will be all over that. Yeah, it's Rondo for me. I don't mind Rubio if we're just looking at other guys that are fine. But I would likely be just further down to either Wade or Gilgeous-Alexander.
I'll just throw this out there. Spencer Dinwiddie's down to 5K on DraftKings. It's obviously a big risk, but you know, he comes back. Atkinson says he's going to be available for back-to-backs right away. The 2 games that he's been back, he's shot pretty poorly, particularly the second one. But he played 23, then 25 minutes in a blowout. If you start seeing his minutes trend upward, I don't hate Dinwiddie in tournaments, just knowing that no one's going to consider him here. And I'll take him over Karis LeVert any day because all that dude ever does is disappoint me.
Yeah, and there's going to come a time where Dinwiddie just gets 31 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to see it coming. He's just going to be involved in an extra rotation.
And it happens all the time before he got hurt. He'd
Yep.
shoot the lights out. You know, it was that's the type of guy that at that price. I mean, Dinwiddie got above 7K at one point. So
that's craziness.
yeah, seeing him down to 5K. Granted, you know, Crabbe was out for a bunch of that. LeVert was out for a bunch of that. I still think Dinwiddie can get the minutes in the event that he gets hot off the bench. Russell will lose minutes as a result, and Dinwiddie is going to pay that price point off in spades in the event that he does get hot shooting. Let's move to shooting guard though. Look at the top. We've already talked about, you know, Russell and Mitchell and Booker. That's the good and bad thing about multi-position eligibility is you kind of have to jump around. So let's look at a few guys that we haven't discussed yet.
Sure.
You've got Buddy Hield here. He's up to 7K. I still think that's reasonable against the Knicks. A few other guys, DeRozan against Denver. I don't know where I'm at on him right now. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 5,600 against the Knicks has been starting. Middleton coming off a big game. We obviously have Lou Williams here as well. I think he's probably better suited at shooting guard than point guard just due to the depth up top at point guard. What do you have here?
You let off with him. Buddy Hield, 7K. He's my number 2 guy at the position behind Donovan Mitchell, and it's razor thin between the two. Hield getting a matchup against the Knicks. Clearly a phenomenal spot. You have no idea who you're going to be playing against. You have no idea. They have no idea who they're going to be playing with. It's just it's insanity. To think that the Knicks, I mean, every night is just like a carnival of guys, and and who knows where it ends up. So just that turmoil alone, someone like Buddy Hield, who can get lost on a court and miscommunications, and all of a sudden it's 3. I love the idea of having Buddy Hield here. We already touched on Mitchell and Booker, so Hield is the first guy up after that list of guys that I really like.
I like him too. And in terms of value, we talked about a few already, Derek White being one of them. Obviously, I think Bogdanovic is still fine at that price point. You know, if you're going to continue to get minutes from him, he's going to continue to start. You know, and with Marvin Bagley out, if you take a look at the front court rotation, you know, Giles, I had mentioned this, that I was still fine playing Giles against the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't projecting him, for any more minutes than he'd been getting. It was simply, because he was dirt cheap, was the big thing. And, you know, when he's playing with the bench, Bagley's usage is off the court as well. So, you know, Giles wasn't going to play alongside Willie Cauley-Stein. There's no reason to believe that even if he did, it would be significant. You know, they played 32 minutes next to each other all year, and they split minutes this game. Well, he backed him up. So that means to me that what you're going to see is Bogdanovic get the bulk of the minutes at the 3, while Harrison Barnes gets most of the minutes at the 4, especially with Marvin Bagley out. And, you know, Bogdanovic played 35.5 minutes last game. Harrison Barnes last game played 38 minutes. And that makes plenty of sense because Giles played all the backup point minutes.
Yeah, I have Bogdan grading out as like a slightly above average play. That whole sort of area is a little bit of a mess. From Oubre to Waiters, it's like I don't have a lot of confidence in any of those guys. If you told me that Joe Ingles went crazy against New Orleans and just banged out a couple of threes, I'd believe you. You know, if you told me that Dion Waiters finally had like a little bit of a coming out party, I'd believe you. Atlanta's defense is nothing to write home about. So I'm not really in that 5K range. I would either be paying up a little bit more at shooting guard or going and scraping the bottom of the barrel and grabbing a little bit of DeAndre Bembry.
Yeah, I mean, I still understand it with Bembry, Taurean Prince. expected to sit in this one. Kent Bazemore, a just unmitigated disaster last time out, unsurprisingly. I mean, we were in the 3rd quarter and he had like 5 fantasy points. He salvaged a little bit with 23, but then you got the quad overtime game against Chicago. Before that, he has 13 fantasy points. Just incredible.
I don't want to
So
talk about it.
yeah, I mean, the amazing thing is he's exactly a fantasy point per minute guy on the season.
Yeah.
That's what he is, 25.5 and 25.5 minutes. But there's just nothing reliable about him, which is why I have no problem filtering or kind of just cycling through these guys and hoping that you hit on the right one in some spots. Wade's another one, dude. Wade against Atlanta here.
Yep.
We've seen Spoelstra. If Wade's playing well, if he gets hot, he's going to get 28 minutes. He's got 31 minutes in some spots. He played 30 against Phoenix, 26. Wade can certainly get that run when he's playing well, and he just has much higher upside than most of these 5K guys that we're discussing.
Yeah, like I have Wade pretty comparable to Lou Williams tomorrow. Not from like a similar fantasy point production, but like just as a comparable value. So a step down if you need a couple extra bucks. Again, it's a matchup with Atlanta. Like everybody's going to look good on Miami. The real hope is that Dragic and Whiteside are out, and all of these guys can reap the benefits of facing a Hawks defense.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I tell you, I like Bogdanovich a little bit more than you do, and I'll tell you why quickly. We'll move
Sure.
to small forward. In 43 minutes in that overtime game against Milwaukee, he had really strong numbers, 58 fantasy points. Not something you should expect. I mean, if you get 38, 40 from him, you're very happy. But his last game, he shot 3 for 15. The big game was sandwiched in between that 3 for 15 game and then a 3 for 13 game. That's not something I expect to see. He's a 42% field goal percent guy on the year, 34% from beyond the arc. So I think you at least see some positive regression, or at least, back to the mean here, which at that price point, if I'm getting 35 minutes from him now that Bagley's out, I'm okay with that, especially given that he is he's slightly over 1 fantasy point per minute on the season. If those are his averages, I expect him to get back to that, and especially coming against the Knicks team that couldn't stop anybody. So that's where I'm at on Bogdanovich.
No, I get he's a guy where there's basically any amount in like the 0 to 20 range where it shows up and I'm just like, okay, that's fine.
Yep. And the funny thing is too, I'm never excited about playing him.
No.
But there are certain times where I say, okay, if he's going to get, I do think Bagley helps him because you're not going to see Harrison Barnes play any minutes at the 3.
Or be good.
Mm-hmm. He's still going to get those minutes, though, I'll tell you that
Yes,
much.
he is. I have no idea why.
But it really solidifies Bogdanovich's minutes,
Absolutely.
I think. Because you're not getting Giles at the 4 next to Willie Cauley-Stein, and that changes a lot. It really changes a lot. I think we can probably move on here. By the way, I agree on. I know I mentioned him earlier, but Buddy Hield is definitely somebody that stands out to me, and he's still pretty affordable. I don't have any problem with 7K on DraftKings and 7.6 on FanDuel. That's not bad at all. Let's talk small forward, Josh. We've got at the top. These are the only 2 guys that we'll get to here outside of Jokic. The only 2 guys above 11K, and I think Giannis and LeBron have been on the same slate for like the past. God, I don't know.
I feel like we've been talking about them a lot in tandem.
On the same slate, right?
Yeah.
So here they are again. I think they both had back-to-backs on the same times too. They did. Actually, I know they did. You've got LeBron against the Clippers. I mean, look, on paper, ridiculously good spot, phenomenal spot. And you're not going to have Danilo Gallinari slowing him down. No one's going to slow him down in the paint. That's just facts. And no matter how good of an on-ball defender Avery Bradley is, he's not stopping LeBron James. They're not going to guard him with LeBron James, of course, or you're not going to put him on LeBron. And he's clearly your best defender. You don't have really anybody that's going to come in here and slow LeBron down unless you can think of somebody I don't know of. Hell, even
Mbah Moute?
So I was going to say, but I don't think Mbah Moute is going to play.
No, I also don't think his first game back he's going to be as dry as you would think.
He's been out for over 4 months.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
And he is. I mean, he's clearly their best wing defender. That's not even a question. But what's he going to play? Like 8 minutes in his first game back if he plays, dude.
Yeah,
They're
I would.
starting.
He would barely be on the floor, right?
Yeah, and even Wilson Chandler, who is actually when he was with the Sixers, had a few really good defensive games where like he shut down DeMar DeRozan towards the end. He wouldn't make a difference, and he's probably out. They're starting Landry Shamet at the 3. They might. I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised now that I think of it to see J. Michael Green get some extra run in this game ahead of Shamet. Wouldn't be surprised. That's not to say I have any intention of playing him, to be clear. None at all. I don't play guys that can never produce any peripherals whatsoever. They just do nothing for me because they need to shoot lights out in order to just be decent. So it's not even a conversation really worth having. Talk to me about LeBron and Giannis here and if there's any priority.
By the way, I could see that as well, just for
Yeah.
this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm leaning LeBron. A lot of that has to do with just simply minutes. Giannis has had like a bit of a weird stretch over the last week, and a game against Phoenix doesn't strike me as the spot where they're definitely going to test him out.
Nope.
So I worry a little bit about what his true ceiling is. Now, he has been significantly better than LeBron James recently. His per minute production right now is insane, number 1 in the league. If I knew if I can get Giannis and LeBron to play the same amount of minutes tomorrow, I'm taking Giannis, and it's not even close. But I have to lean to LeBron because I just cannot trust how long Giannis will be on the floor tomorrow.
There's no way you're getting the same minutes here. No way.
Not at all.
Like not even close. I mean,
I don't know. The Lakers could get beat by 40 and LeBron plays 31 minutes. That's the way that it'll be the same.
Yeah, I mean, like barring a blowout,
right?
But we're not projecting for blowouts. If this game's close, LeBron's playing 39, 40 minutes again. Like he has to.
Yes, he is.
Did you see the inbound that he screwed up on?
I didn't.
Oh my God.
Brutal.
Twitter, you have to Twitter search when you get a chance. LeBron inbound.
Okay.
Dude, he went to throw it in. And this is how clumsy and just out of it he is. He threw it off the back of the backboard and turned it over.
All right, I found it.
Yeah, watch it.
We can keep going though.
Yeah, you'll see. I mean, I want your reaction. Here it comes. So they turned around. Now they'll show you it. Here you go.
Fantastic, Bron.
I mean, that's something you've never seen him do.
No.
So they're at a point right now where.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The back of the backboard. That's where they're at right now. It's brutal.
Yeah, I can only imagine what was going through his head after he did that.
It's gotten really bad. Yeah, I'm sure he was trying to look for someone else to blame it on.
Yeah.
You can't blame an inanimate object.
No. And yet, he's going to be a small forward I use a decent amount tomorrow.
I don't know how you can't.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I had Rick Kamla on our Awesemo Radio on Sirius XM on Saturday, and Rick's or NBA TV, sorry, and Sirius XM NBA Radio, but Rick Kamla's from NBA TV, and he has the inside scoop on a lot of stuff. Real sharp basketball guy, and I said, Rick, am I crazy to think the Lakers need to come in here and just blow the doors off the Suns? Like both Rick and I have been saying that we don't expect them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yet still, we both thought that the Lakers would go in there and win with and put an exclamation point on it because you're talking about a Phoenix team that's lost 18 of 19 games, and they lost.
Yeah. You know what their percentage to win or make the playoffs is right now at 538?
What's that?
8%.
Yeah, they just went. They were like 2 weeks ago. They were like plus 100 to make or plus 200 to make the playoffs. Now they're plus 800, I think, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a struggle.
It's a steep climb, but like this is your last gasp right here. You lose this game and it's pretty much a wrap. But I mean, you have to at least assume that LeBron in this one at least is still going to get his monster minutes unless there's a blowout.
They should shut him down and get their tank on.
You can't, man.
Take the 4% chance they have at Zion.
Do they even have their first rounder this year?
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay. How many minutes do you have him projected for?
Who? LeBron?
Yeah.
38, I think.
So do I. And if I'm projecting LeBron James at 38, it's very rare that I'm not going to play him, especially he's 300 less than Giannis on DraftKings.
Yeah, and like 38 could be low.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can't project him for 40. There was a time when I was projecting Beal for around 40 a night.
Yeah.
But I'll put him at 37, 38, and I'm okay with that. I have him at 38 right now. But, yeah, on a per-minute basis, if they're both playing the same minutes, give me Giannis. It's just very, very it's very likely that LeBron plays 5 more minutes than Giannis, or maybe more. Maybe more. Giannis could easily play another 32, and LeBron plays 40.
That's exactly what I have in. Well, I have 38 and 32 right now, so that's
right.
6, and then
So
it can be 8 without question.
And that's still a pretty dramatic difference. So, on DraftKings, you have Luka at small forward. You have Buddy Hield here as well. Kyle Kuzma has been starting at the center position, but then in the second half of last game, Luke Walton's like, "Oh man, we got to do something." Reggie Bullock gets taken out of the starting lineup, a guy they acquired for some 3-and-D stuff. That didn't help. They put McGee back in, which moved Kuzma to the 4. So now I really don't know what the starting lineup's going to look like. I don't think you want to start Kuzma at the 5 here, but at this point, Walton's trying anything he possibly can to stay afloat, which they really aren't anymore.
Yeah, he's gonna get canned.
He should. I won't. Yeah, I mean, dude, what made him a good coach in the first place? I'll tell you right now.
His dad being cool as shit.
Steve, that is true. But Steve Kerr was out for an extended period of time, and the Warriors won like almost every game. I could have coached the Warriors to 25 wins over that span.
I don't think that anybody is a good coach if they have LeBron James. Does that make sense?
It kind of does. And look, I'm exaggerating. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job with Kerr out and everything. All I'm saying is when you're coaching that Dubs team, was it really that impressive that you're you're in there as for relieving Steve Kerr as the interim coach and your team wins a ton of games when you've got Curry and Clay and Dre, and I think they had Barnes at the time. I mean, they had a nasty team, clearly the best in the league. That was the year isn't that the year they broke the win record?
Yeah, he was like 26-1 or something to start the season.
Right.
26-0 maybe? Is that what it was?
It was one of those. But how much should that really influence you wanting to hire him as a coach when you have that team? I'm just asking. I I'm not a GM. I don't own teams, but
I have no idea.
To me, it seems like that could be a little bit misleading. Who knows? Do you fire him or do you? Here's the thing, though. Honest question. Serious. I want your honest answer on this, and I don't even want you to think about it because there should be an answer right off the top of your head. After this season, do you really want LeBron James around for another however many years? Has he helped your team?
Wait, what do you mean?
Okay.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Are you asking me if the Lakers would trade LeBron if they could?
No, I'm saying hypothetically, do you think the Lakers are better or worse with LeBron?
Better.
Okay. I think on paper they're better, but I don't know if they actually are.
Well, they will be once Anthony Davis and somebody else get there, or whoever else he needs.
Well, that's a little bit different, sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying the current version of this team. How about let me spin the question.
Okay.
Has LeBron James helped them or hurt them this season? Just take everything that's happened with LeBron James. Has he been good for this team? I feel like there's a lot of Lakers fans that might say no. And, tweet us at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D, at Josh Engelman. Let us know what your take is, especially if you're a Lakers fan, because I'm not making any, I'm not trying to jump the gun or jump to conclusions here, but I'd love to know what Lakers fans' opinions are, because everyone was so stoked to get LeBron James, right? Like, oh my God, we got the king. We got We got King James. But they're in turmoil right now. It's in utter disarray. So that's basically what I'm asking you.
I think he makes the team better and the individuals worse.
Huh. That's I see what so you're basically saying that he makes the team better only because of his own play. And that
Yes. He is not a he does not generally make players better. Although they have shit players around him. It he's
how
not
bad
exactly set
how
up to
bad are
succeed with, JaVale and Rondo and Lance Stevenson and stuff. So when
are
when the youth is out there, they're good.
Ingram and Kuzma good in your eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to argue over the semantics of good.
Like, are they good role players?
Yes, I'm fans of theirs.
Okay. Like, would they be better surrounded by Kawhi Leonard?
Ingram maybe. Kuzma no.
Don't you think this is a fascinating case study though, or is it just me?
Oh, I
Like
love it.
how it's just gone to absolute shit, and you still have look, LeBron James is not at his peak. We all know that, but he's still really good. Like he's still one of the best players on planet Earth. So
Yep.
he, as you said, it feels like he see, I think he's made the team worse. I don't know. I don't even know at this point because you're still seeing games where Ingram and Kuzma are dropping huge individual stat lines. Same with Rondo. You know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I like this team. I'm really surprised that the Pelicans didn't take the offer because I like all those young guys. And there's just so much talent in that deal.
Well, let us know what your thoughts are. You can tweet us or hit us in the comment section. I really don't have an opinion on it. I just don't know what to think about it. And usually I have an opinion on everything, but right here, I don't know. Is it all LeBron? Is it that somebody had mentioned, this team is pissed or not that, but most of these players are like, well, yeah, they were ready to ship all of us off to get Anthony Davis and LeBron. We know LeBron was ready to let us walk. Like LeBron would have been happily had him unload all of us to get Anthony Davis in here. So, do they want to play around them? Has LeBron lost the locker room? They're all interesting questions that we don't have the answers to.
Very true.
What do you make of the rest of the small forward position? We'll move on and close this out.
Yeah, like I could flip a coin or roll a dice or something. I don't know. Something for three sides for Middleton, Gallo, and Kuzma. I see all three of those guys as relatively similar. Tim Hardaway Jr. is popping up a little bit for me. I didn't touch on him at shooting guard, but he's someone that I'll probably have in like the 10 to 15% range. After that, probably just like Jay Crowder and Bembry as a holdover.
Yeah, and if you're looking at somebody that you want to, if Bembry like happens to be popular because no other like extreme punts pop up, I'll just throw it out there. Pat Connaughton's actually playing pretty big minutes. He's not a particularly intriguing guy or good player,
No.
but really on a per minute basis, he's hardly any worse than DeAndre Bembry. So they've pretty much been doing much of the same recently. He's playing very significant minutes 28, 25, 26, 36 against Utah. Granted, Bledsoe and Brogdon were out of that one, but we'll pay attention to some injuries here. He'll probably play around the same minutes as DeAndre Bembry, and neither of them have great well, actually, Connaughton has a better matchup than Bembry does. So throwing these guys, guys like Bellinelli and such, once in a while they'll get hot from beyond the arc and give you some numbers. Otherwise, you should expect to get pretty garbage totals from them because they rely on one or two statistics and oftentimes fall off a cliff. All right, let's talk about power forward, Josh. You got LeBronis and LeBronis. That's a nice name. If they played on the same team, it would be LeBronis.
That's like their high school relationship name. Is that like
exactly
Brangelina?
Yep. Randall against Utah, LaMarcus Aldridge against Denver, John Collins. We don't know if he's going to play or not. Montrezl Harrell's a 63 against the Lakers. That's a pretty enticing spot now that his salary's come down.
I'm a fan.
I mean, I'm assuming Davis sits. I really don't know at this point, but let's just assume he does, and we'll talk about how this affects that front court.
Can they just can we all just agree to send him home for the year?
I mean, You would think so. It would make the most sense. The 21 minutes per game nonsense is getting out of control.
Oh my god.
But I tell you, if he's gonna sit, and Randall's gonna play another huge heap of minutes, then I'm probably going to have some interest in Randall, even if it's not the greatest matchup. The guy is a really talented offensive player.
Oh, I'm gonna have a hard time going to him.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this though, because the the power forward position doesn't it's really not that good.
It's not. His whole entire area is kind of gross.
So that's the only reason I'd even bring him up. Normally, I like let's just say, LeBron, Giannis, you're not playing them at the 4.
No.
You have Randall, you have Aldridge. Aldridge, it's a tough rebounding matchup. It's not the greatest matchup against that Denver front court. Good fundamental defenders in both Millsap and Nikola Jokic. I don't know. Maybe I end up on a decent amount of Trez.
That's the guy that I'm looking at as of right now. He's my number 2 power forward behind LeBron. So I expect to have quite a bit of Harrell, Kuzma again, Gallo again. And I think Nico at 4,900 is in play now, particularly here against the Suns.
I could see it. Yeah, I could see that. I don't have a problem with that. Mirotic is obviously a good player. It just depends on what type of minutes we're going to get from him. If he plays 27 minutes, he's really only had one decent game since coming to the Bucks, but I don't. Maybe 2. He's had 2. Yeah, he's definitely capable of pouring in those 3-pointers. I don't have an issue with him. One other guy, we can cover this position pretty quickly. I want to ask you about him. Dirk Nowitzki's minute totals have been increasing lately, and before you scoff at this one, he's $3,200 on DraftKings. His shooting has been poor, but he's gotten up double-digit field goal attempts now in 4 straight games. In 5 of his last 6, played 23, 22, 26, 25 minutes. He's there. Like, he's dirt cheap. He's minimum salary against the Brooklyn Nets.
He's my second favorite $3,200 power forward.
There you go. Who's your first?
The only other one that's there that matters. I think Kurucs is in a good spot tomorrow. Travion Graham, I think, is doubtful. And if Travion Graham sits, I think Kurucs sees like 26 minutes or so. And if he does, I would like him over Dirk.
All right. I wonder though, does Travion Graham's minutes just go to LeVert and Allen Crabbe?
They certainly might.
I hate that team, man.
So do I.
Behind the Knicks, the Nets are one of the toughest teams to try and evaluate.
What's that? The Heat don't help.
Yeah, the Heat don't help.
I'm going to have to look into Kurucs' rotations tomorrow morning. He played 28 minutes the last game.
Yeah. With the Heat, I just don't have any interest in playing most of them. Like, I might miss out on Josh Richardson's 31 fantasy point game. No thanks. Give me the front court. That's all I care about. Give me the center position. Whiteside in tournaments when he's cheap, and Bam when he's out. I'll be cool with that. And then, some Wade once in a while too. And then Giles' price is up, but he's above 4K. I don't have him for any more than 17, 19 minutes. You're going to need to really get a good game from him. You're going to want around 1.5, 1.7 fantasy points per minute, because or unless Willie Cauley-Stein gets in foul trouble and Giles plays like 23. But
yeah, that's his path. That's his path to a bigger game.
Right. It's like, but it's so far from a certainty. You're literally banking on the starter getting in foul trouble or getting hurt or a blowout.
I have one guy that I want to ask about here.
Go ahead.
Is Henry Ellenson in play at 4K?
It's a pretty interesting question. I want to see.
He didn't play much tonight, so I think the answer could be no. But him not playing a lot tonight could certainly just mean that he plays 32 tomorrow.
He played 36 minutes, then he played 27, then he played 15. The game was a blowout from the jump.
Yeah.
I don't know. 4K. My God. Like, I'd almost rather take Giles and hope for 20 minutes out of Giles. Because the funny thing is, at least with
I'd
Giles,
rather have Check Diallo if we find out Anthony Davis is out, so it probably doesn't matter.
Would you?
If AD is out, I'd rather have Check Diallo than Henry Ellenson, at least.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. You get your 21 minutes from Diallo.
Yeah.
Be all right with that, yeah. Speaking of that Davis situation, Okafor started last game, but predictably only played 23 minutes,
Yep.
which is okay, I guess. But you're right. You probably just go up a little bit higher to Diallo, and feel a little bit better about that. That's where I would go if Davis is out. Let's talk about center and close this out. By the way, promo code if you want to get 50% off your first month at awesemo.com. You'll always hear us talk about the ownership projections, the deep dive, and all of our other content, the projections for every sport, articles for every sport, Awesemo odds, our sports betting content that we've been pumping out quite a bit lately. Awesemo, Alex Baker himself, his site, his content, his rankings, projections, you got it all there, and the lineup builder, along with the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. Hey, and our Slack chat. There's probably a lot I'm forgetting too. It's too much to get through all in one breath. But all you have to do is use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, EARLYBIRd. When you sign up, clicking join now on our homepage, select your plan, use the promo code EARLYBIRD, and get 50% off, half off your first month. And when you do, check us out, say hi in Slack, and we'll be happy to show you around. All right, Josh, let's close it out with center. Nikola Jokic clearly at the top. Rudy Gobert's down to 7,900, though. That's pretty enticing as well. What are we doing at the top and middle of this position?
Rudy Gobert.
It's tough not to like him here. Yeah.
He's the clear top option. I don't have anyone even in sniffing distance for him.
What happened in the Milwaukee game?
Like, how so?
He played 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
No fouls.
No idea.
I mean, it's got to be a blip on the radar, but I don't know what happened.
Let's find out.
I do not know what happened. So basically, it looks like he just played really poorly, and Derek Favors got the minutes at the 5. That's interesting.
He was minus 36 in 20 minutes. So sometimes it's just not your night.
Jeepers creepers. Wow. I mean, it makes sense.
He went 1 for 8 from the line.
They spaced that. They spaced that floor. You get Brook Lopez the range out there, and Rudy Gobert's job becomes a whole lot more difficult.
Dude, they won the game by 4.
Yeah.
He was minus 36 in 20 minutes. They won the game by 4.
That's amazing.
Kyle Korver was plus 30.
Rubio is minus 29.
Oh my God.
Favors was plus 29 too. They closed it out with Mitchell, Ingles, Favors, Crowder, and Korver. Let me tell you something. You want to talk good coaching right there? I'm just by looking at this, by the adjustments made by Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
That is good coaching. They were down 17 4 minutes into the fourth quarter.
He parked the best player on the Jazz on the bench with no fouls.
And they made a 17-point comeback.
Yeah.
Literally, when Rudy Gobert came on, when he left the court, that is when the turnaround happened. When Rubio and Gobert left the court and hit the bench, and we saw these 5 return, that is when they made the comeback. That's really impressive against a really good Bucks team.
I don't think I've ever seen a box score like this.
No, it's certainly strange. It really is. It's a really, really strange box score, no question. And I'm pretty sure the Bucks were on the second of a back-to-back. They were, which is easier to understand, seeing that they fell apart late in the game, but still really impressive from Quinn Snyder and this Utah team. But I'm more than back on board with Rudy Gobert here against the Pelicans. I mean, it's just a superb bounce back spot. There's literally nothing not to like. Maybe the 20 minutes played last game will scare some people off. That'd be sweet. But I also have no issue with Jokic either at this price. Last game, he was so mind-numbingly efficient. Had it not been for that foul trouble, he may have had 100 fantasy points. And that is not hyperbole.
I cannot wait until they abolish fouling out.
Yeah. He had 2.24 fantasy points per minute. Across 37 minutes, you're around 83 fantasy points. Just monster totals. Every time he came back in right before fouling out, he'd rack up like 12 fantasy points in 2 minutes. Insane stuff.
It's
He's
crazy what happens when you're the best offensive center in basketball.
That's funny. Yeah, also, well, it doesn't matter when you're on the bench, I guess. But we've got Jokic, you got Gobert. Gobert really is, just from a point per dollar standpoint, a phenomenal play. And then aside from that, where do you go here? Like, anybody that stands out?
If
Like,
Hassan Whiteside plays, I have like an odd amount of interest.
It's exactly what I was gonna ask you. If Whiteside plays, then it's gonna be real difficult to ignore him.
Yep.
Bam Adebayo at 5,600, if Whiteside's out, is still very much in play as well.
For sure. And very much not in play if he's not.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's not even a question. Dude, Adebayo was 3,800, 3,500 when Whiteside was healthy.
Yep.
So, Adebayo had a great game last time out, 28 minutes. He never came back in that blowout, but he had a huge rebounding performance, 6 assists, 9 points at 50. And I played him willingly at 5,200, 5,600 against Atlanta. You better believe I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yep.
All right, well, let's close it out. Any value here that you want to touch on before we close this one?
Let's see.
Like, is Jared Allen cheap enough for you now?
Yeah, that's fine. And like Zubats is fine. If you're a believer in Henry Ellenson's minutes, 4K is fine. If you're a believer in Dirk, 3,200 center.
Mm-hmm. It's also possible that McGee's back in the starting lineup.
Yes.
Will that be the case? I don't know. He did start the second half of that game. If you pull that one up, it's a pretty interesting looking box score as well, just with the adjustments that were made. But keep this in mind. McGee in the first half played 4, 5, 6, 7. He played 9 minutes. And then in the second half, he played 7, almost 14 minutes, right? So if you could even get 12 and 12 in 22 minutes from McGee at 3,800, there's no way you don't like that against the Clippers front court. There's no way. That'd be a great play.
I'd be all over it.
Yeah. All right, Josh. Before we head out, final words, man. Any game theory on this slate? Anything you want to touch on? Anything that the listeners or viewers should look out for? It's a foundational pod, so we'll head out with this.
Yeah. What do you think about the Jags signing Foles?
You're such an anti-Philly guy. It's hilarious. It's not official yet, right?
Dan Graziano put the report out at 9:19. Jags expected to sign Foles next week. So
Yeah,
reported by Philly.com.
I saw it earlier this morning too on, I think, CBS. But if that's the case, it would be actually. By the way, Deadspin report: Nick Foles expected to bring his talents and enormous dong to Jackson. That's fantastic.
Kudos, Jags.
You want to know the honest answer to that? I think it would be really smart on part of the Jaguars, because the quarterback class you're looking at, not great. The free agency in terms of quarterbacks that would actually go there, not great. Yes, I think it's smart. Now, what's funny about this is I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Foles isn't nearly as good that he was with the Eagles. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Foles is not very good, no matter what team he goes to. Especially given that when you talk about this Jaguars team, you know that I had a serious issue with Doug Marrone and the way he did some things this year, especially when ahead in games. But I still think it would make the wide receivers better for fantasy, because anything's better than Blake Bortles, man. I think they got to take a chance. And if you do it with Nick Foles, I don't have an issue. And you know what? If he does sign a nice contract, good for him, because he brought a championship to this city, and I'll never have any ill will towards Nick. Big Dick Nick, of course.
Yeah, I assume it makes no difference whatsoever.
In what sense?
I think I think the gap God, this is
between Bortles and Foles, that's just a dumb comment. Don't even say it.
Okay.
You really think there's no gap difference between Bortles and Foles?
I think they're both like a replacement level quarterback.
All right, fair enough. I mean, whether you see that or not, Bortles is flat out bad.
Yeah, I agree. I don't expect Foles to be any good.
Okay. I mean,
And
I
that has
literally
nothing to do with Philly whatsoever.
no, I know. I literally just said I expect Foles to not be nearly as good as he was in Philly,
Yeah.
but I'll still always have him as a better quarterback than Blake Bortles, and I have most ahead of Blake Bortles. We'll see though. I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but it would be interesting. Um, I just think Blake Bortles is pretty awful, so as he is.
I feel like every quarterback is awful except for like 5 of them.
We we don't have time to get into this.
This is the NBA early bird.
Yep, we certainly will next time given the opportunity. Anyway, thanks as always for tuning in. This is the NBA Early Bird right here, presented by awesomemode.com. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a great start to your week. Mondays always suck, but we're hoping we can make it a little bit better, and we hope we just did. We'll see you back here tomorrow.